Hello, Aries, and welcome to your July 2018 reading. My name is Camille, and you are watching Millennial Tarot. I know it's been such a long time since I've uploaded, and I was just so busy, and I'm sorry, and I'm just so happy to be back. I'm excited. Life was kind of for a moment, but now it's on its way back up, so now I feel like I can be a better conduit for you. So, without further ado, let's just get into your reading. You already know what I do, and if you don't know what I do, just 3 cards, past, present, future. Rider-Waite Tarot deck, going within to see what is up. This is a big astrological month for so many people, literally everybody. We have so many retrograde planets, I think 6 plus, happening in this month of July. So to the extent that you may be feeling weird, bogged down, especially your Aries cardinal fire spirit, just notice that, and that this is going to be a big month for a lot of people because we have those eclipses, and then we have, we have those retrogrades, and then we have 2 eclipses in July and 1 right in the beginning of August. So it's like a big deal, and I'm so excited because lives are going to change. Karma is going to be burned or be started over. Things that you've wanted to happen for a long time are going to happen. Things that you just haven't had the courage to end are going to end. This is going to be a big, huge, fated month for everybody. But let's see specifically how it's going to affect you. So, let's go with Aries, July 20. That's very good. And as I pull these cards, just wanted to remind you guys that I'm still doing personal readings, just $10, any question you want, and I get back to you pretty soon. Okay, so what we pulled for you, Aries, is coming into this reading with the Wheel of Fortune, setting off the reading, recent past, a past that makes sense to you, or just energies that are flowing around you. And then we move into the Hierophant. This is the major arcana card for Taurus. And then we move here into the 9 of Swords, but we're going to clarify that right now because we don't like ending off bad. So then we have the 5 of Swords. So automatically, what I see happening here for you is that there's been a period of time where you, Aries, felt like you couldn't communicate effectively. And you couldn't communicate effectively for what you have wanted. So, you can bring it down into your personal situation, but what it could look like is like you have not been able to negotiate what you want in a relationship. You haven't been able to negotiate what you want out of your job and promotions and stuff, or you just literally have not been able to speak up for yourself, which for Aries is very difficult because you guys are impulsive, you guys are fiery, the babies of the zodiac, always after what you want. And, getting it. But I sense that for some of you, the months leading up to right now, you watching this video have been kind of calcified in inaction and in, just not being able to get exactly what it is you want. It doesn't have to be the big thing. It could be small little things that kind of gnaw at you like a little termite. So that's what's happening here, and that's ultimately what's going to shift here in July, is that there's a new sense of authority, sense of passion, sense of courage, being able to ask what you want. So here we have the Wheel of Fortune. The Wheel of Fortune is what tells me that that phase is coming to an end. And the Wheel of Fortune is really about, life shifting around, karma shifting around, things shifting around, so that they begin to happen in your favor. The Wheel of Fortune is a fated card for a fated month. We have the, X10 always represents the end of a cycle, and the Wheel of Fortune always represents things moving, constantly, because they're always moving. We're always in the Wheel of Fortune. But in this particular case, things are moving, so things will be more positive, things will be more obvious, and you will be able to kind of bulldoze through the things that you have not been able to bulldoze through. Job stuff, career stuff, love stuff, job stuff, just a lot of inaction around you that has been causing, heartbreak and all this stuff. So this is going to be a month where you kind of find your words again, you find your sense of communication again. Now, Mercury is going retrograde at the end of this month, so really capitalizing, Wheel of Fortune and the Hierophant coming up in the beginning of a reading to say that the beginning of the month would be the best time to lay the foundation for this new change for you. And then we move here into the Hierophant, which is the major arcana card of Taurus. So very simply, for some of you, it can mean that you're dealing with a Taurus in a relationship, you're dealing with a Taurus in your job, and it makes perfect sense that you would feel that you can't deal with something, or you have not been able to make as much action and as much movement in something. When we were talking about Taurus the bull who kind of sits there and lazes around, and who is not necessarily as active as you, your next door neighbor sign. We're talking about an incompatible modality, an incompatible element, and all these things. So you could have been dealing with someone who is immovable, a boss who's immovable, a partnership or a friendship, or something happening in your family where someone is just not budging. They're not budging on what you want. They're not budging and listening to your ideas. It's just a very stubborn, recalcitrant Taurus type of energy. Now, conversely, the Hierophant traditionally is, a person who uses dogmatic ways to kind of quiet the soul and quiet themselves. The Hierophant speaks to things that are traditional, things like going to church, things like reading scripture, things that, have to do with a community and being around communion with other people, any type of traditional things, and we bring it into the modern world. It could be any type of paperwork that's not going away. For some of you, it could be very much dealing with a spiritual person happening in a spiritual context, or this could be you coming in or someone else coming in as a more healing solve type of Taurus energy, or a type of Hierophant energy that is going to help you create order out of this chaos. So should you have felt, not chaos, just inaction, like inertia. So should you have felt like you haven't been able to make moves, the Hierophant could be the person who is coming in to fix a problem. The Taurus could be someone who's coming in to fix a problem for some of you, or it could be the Taurus who does have to get out of your way. One of my favorite quotes or things that someone says around me a lot is that these things don't move me, and therefore they must move. So whatever needs to move out of your way this month, Aries, now is the time to do it. Now is the time to lean on your Hierophants, lean on whatever the Hierophant means for you. We're talking about someone who commands, he's like a pope-like person. So any type of spirituality, religious communities, any type of structured type of communities, whether it's volunteering, whether it's in your spiritual arenas, whatever that is for you. And it could also very literally mean that you're dealing with a Taurus who could come in to solve this problem for you, or very literally the Taurus is who you eventually end up having to move past. So Taurus energy doesn't have to literally be a Taurus, any earth sign or those earth sign type of qualities. And then we move here at the very end into the Nine of Swords that I clarified here with the Five of Swords. And this is you kind of waffling back and forth with how you're going to say it, what you're going to say. And I have the feeling, Aries, that what needs to be communicated, what needs to be done, what needs to be signed off on is not something small. So this is something, like if you're asking for a promotion and you don't get it, maybe you have to leave the job. If you're asking for a certain type of commitment or a certain type of treatment in a relationship and you don't get it, maybe you have to leave the relationship. But this is a time where you must speak what you want. First of all, it could go well. You could get the thing that you want. Things could start moving in your direction. But conversely, if you keep on coming up against a type of wall in a person or in a situation, it could be time to let that go and to move on. And the Nine of Swords kind of sees you here up at night, card of anxiety, card of depression, swords hanging on the wall. You thinking all the different ways it can go, you thinking about all the different ways you can say it, and just kind of painting yourself over how you're going to do it. And what I love about this outcome for you, or what makes sense about it to me, is that Aries, fire, passion, soul, doing things impulsively, not necessarily thinking through like an air sign would. And then we have the outcome being these air signs. So what this says to me is the Nine of Swords is when you belabor the decision, when you belabor the thought, when you go back and forth in your head, when you take too long doing pros and cons, when you take too long trying to figure out the exact words you should use, that is when you're stepping out of that beautiful Aries spirit. And that is when you're getting yourself down. That is when you're creating anxiety and depression for yourself. So this card, like most Swords cards, are the machinations of our head and what's going on in our head. And so the moment that we choose to shift our perspective, to shift out of a thought pattern that is bringing us down is the moment that this card kind of dissolves. And then we have it clarified here by the Five of Swords. And this kind of sees you actually taking that action, taking the communication action of talking, any type of intellectual thing. The Swords really says to me that it has to do with talking with somebody. It has to do with communicating. It has to do with writing stuff down. It has to do with contracts. It has to do with social media. It really just has to do with how you're interfacing with another person. The Five of Swords is the card of winners and losers. And in this situation, because we have it clarifying the Nine of Swords, and we don't want to end up on a bad note, the clarification to me is saying, when you advocate for what you want, when you advocate for what you want to do, you are ending up on top. So should this have been a situation where you were fighting people in the gossip realm? Should this have been a situation where you're having an issue with family? Should this have been a situation where you're having issues with your partnership or with coworkers or with people who are not doing your money right? We see them moving here in defeat, walking away in defeat, and we see you here being the victor. And you are the victor when you use your words, when you communicate. And this is not a victor as in you're going to punish people, you're going to stab people, you're not, the Five of Swords. You guys still are on equal playing ground. You guys are just, he's won and they have walked away and they have relinquished their swords, and now he has the swords. So this is not talking about like, I'm going to punish you, I'm going to, bulldoze through this, I'm going to do this as efficiently and not as tactfully as possible. No, the Five of Swords kind of sees you doing it in a way where you're advocating for yourself in a way that is just, that is fair. We think about the Hierophant, who does provide that justness, that fairness, that community, and that structure. So when you're communicating in a way where you're both advocating for what you need and taking into account the emotions of the room, then, or the other person, then you ultimately end up getting what you want. So really, what I see happening here for you, and then we have, the repeatedness of the Five, Hierophant and the Five, and then we have the repeatedness of the 9 and the 10. So, definitely reaching a point where whatever has been bothering you, whatever needs to shift, whatever needs to move because it doesn't move you, is going to end. But the only way it can end is if you take some type of action. And the action I need you to take is not this, where you're just constantly thinking about it, where you don't know what to do, where you're, belaboring a choice, not making a choice. We talk about, or we see here how the Nine of Swords woman is inactive, sitting in bed, and then we have the Five of Swords man, more masculine, go-getting energy, is out there, active, advocating for what he wants. So, the marriage for you here and the way out of this for you here, Aries, is to really take action this month. And I know you're good at taking fire action, impulsive, passion action, but I need you to take more intellectual, communicative action and really deal more in your mind and less in your heart. But don't deal so much that you're completely depressed and unable to move and just thinking. We don't need to do that. We need to do it in a way where you can marry your Aries action, your Aries fire, with the intellectual authority you have over whatever the situation is. And we do see you here ending up being the victor. And just the mirror image of the 5 and the 5 says to me that it's the Taurus you're beating. I don't want to say beating because, it sounds kind of bad. But it's the Taurus that you're able to move through. It's the Earth energy that you're able to move through. Or Taurus and Earth energy is coming down to help you move through it. So, Aries, this has been my reading for you. It's a month for you of advocating for yourself, of being brave, of using your words, of being communicative. Things that you have wanted to say but you have not said, say them. People need to hear them. And when you do, you will be surprised how the universe moves and opens up for you. This month, always end on a strong note, stumble over my words. That's who I am. I'm so glad to be back here with you guys. If I see you next month, that's awesome. But if I see you in the interim for a personal reading, that's awesome too. I hope you guys have a great month of July. Always check out always check out your moon rising and your sun, especially for this upcoming month. All the planets are going to be fucking up all parts of your chart, okay? Just look at it all. But until then, enjoy your July. I hope the big things happen for you. We see that it is. It's going to be a glorious karmic month for you, Aries. See ya! Ah.